A month of the college football season is in the books. The Heisman race is really starting to shape out as a number of players are entering the conversation every week. Here is my Heisman top 10 as we enter the month of October. Before we get to today's video, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications if you're new to my channel. If you're watching this video, odds are you love college football, and odds are you aren't subscribed to my channel. So make sure to subscribe to one of the best college football communities here on YouTube. We're going to kick off today's list with a name you probably haven't heard much of this season, and that's James Madison quarterback Alonzo Barnett III. James Madison is still undefeated, and they're making a strong push as being the Group of 5 representative in the college football playoff. After spending the last 2 seasons with James Madison and attempting only 12 passes, he's finally earned the starting quarterback job and has been fantastic so far. Through the first 4 games, he's already thrown for over 1,000 yards with 12 passing touchdowns and only 1 interception. He's also added 250 yards on the ground with 3 rushing scores. He has some of the best numbers by any quarterback in college football, but the fact that he could lead James Madison to a potential playoff berth, that's why I currently have him inside my top 10. After spending the last 5 seasons at Ohio, Curtis Rourke transferred to Indiana this offseason. Now, Rourke has had some really good statistical seasons in years past, including 2022 when he threw for over 3,200 yards with 25 touchdowns, but he's currently having the best season of his collegiate career in his first season in the Big Ten. Through 5 games, Indiana is undefeated and they're a top 25 team in all of college football. Rourke is completing 73% of his passes and has thrown for 1,400 yards with 11 passing touchdowns. Indiana knew they were getting an upgrade at the quarterback position this offseason, but I don't think they were expecting to be getting a legitimate Heisman contender. The only reason why Kansas State quarterback Avery Johnson isn't higher is because he does have a loss under his belt this year, but he's been fantastic for the Wildcats so far. Through 5 games, he's thrown for just under 1,000 yards with 9 passing touchdowns, but most of his damage has come on the ground as he's rushed for over 320 yards with 2 rushing scores. Avery Johnson is averaging 7.3 yards per attempt. He had by far the best game of his career this past weekend as Kansas State took down number 20 Oklahoma State. Johnson threw for 260 yards with 3 passing touchdowns while adding 60 yards on the ground with 2 rushing scores. With every game that goes by, Avery Johnson is looking better and better, so I think it's safe to expect him to be posting these kind of numbers every game moving forward. Another year, another really good quarterback at LSU. After waiting 3 years for his turn, Garrett Nussmeier finally became LSU's starting quarterback this season, and he's been even better than advertised. Through the first 5 games, he's thrown for over 1,600 yards with 15 passing touchdowns. As of right now, he's top 5 in all of college football in both passing yards and passing touchdowns. LSU has one of the best offenses in the entire country, and Garrett Nussmeier is going to continue to light up the stat sheet the rest of the way. His numbers are definitely going to be there at the end of the season. The only question for him is whether or not LSU's record is going to be good enough for him to be a Heisman finalist. We're 1 month into the college football season, and Colorado is definitely looking the part. Through their first 5 games, they're 4-1, and they're currently riding a 3-game winning streak, and that's largely due to the play of quarterback Shedeur Sanders. He's completing 70% of his passes and has thrown for over 1,600 yards with 14 passing touchdowns and only 3 interceptions. Shedeur is currently number 6 in the country in passing yards and number 9 in the country in total touchdowns responsible for. Like with Garrett Nussmeier, Sanders' numbers are definitely going to be there at the end of the season, and they're definitely going to be Heisman worthy. The only question is, how many wins is Colorado going to finish with, and are they going to be a good enough team for Shedeur to get Heisman consideration? Jackson Dart was probably my Heisman favorite entering this past weekend, but his performance and loss to Kentucky really hurt his chances. Overall in the season, Jackson Dart has been phenomenal as he's completing 77% of his passes while throwing for 1,800 yards and 13 passing touchdowns. He's also added over 100 yards on the ground with 3 rushing scores as well. Overall, Dart leads the entire country in passing yards and is 6th overall in touchdowns responsible for. Like I said, he's lighting up the stat sheet and posting phenomenal numbers, but this past weekend was a really ugly loss to Kentucky. If Jackson Dart wants to get back near the top of the Heisman discussion, he's going to have to make sure Ole Miss wins a lot more games. Before we get to the rest of today's video, I'd like to share with you guys how you can make the college football season more exciting and even win some money. I've partnered with Underdog Fantasy to bring you this amazing deal. If you download the Underdog Fantasy app and use promo code Harris, they'll match your first deposit up to $1,000. That's right, they're giving you up to $1,000 of free money. You can choose your favorite players from every game and decide whether or not they'll go higher or lower than their projections. So to add a little extra excitement to every game and win some money, make sure to use promo code Harris for a 100% deposit match up to $1,000 at Underdog Fantasy. You guys can also sign up using the link in my description as well. We might be witnessing one of the greatest seasons we've ever seen from a college football running back. Ashton Jeanty of Boise State has been phenomenal this season, and he's on pace towards shattering every collegiate record. Through only 4 games, he's already ran for 845 yards with 13 rushing touchdowns. He's averaging 10.3 yards per carry. Now, just think about this for a second. He's on a 12-game pace of 2,500 rushing yards and 39 rushing touchdowns. Now, obviously, he's not going to finish with those exact numbers, but who's to say he can't even come close? His worst game this season was 127 rushing yards. He already has 2 games with 260 yards and a game with 200 yards. Not to mention, he has 3 games with at least 3 rushing touchdowns. I mean, even if he doesn't finish the season on his current pace, it looks like as long as he stays healthy, he's going to finish this season with 2,000 rushing yards and 25 rushing touchdowns. That right there would already be one of the best seasons we've ever seen from a running back. It also helps that Boise State is currently ranked, and they're making a push at being the Group of 5 representative in the college football playoff. Up next, we have Travis Hunter, who's having one of the best all-around seasons we've seen from a player in college football history. We'll start on the receiving end because he's been one of the top receivers in all of college football. Through 5 games, he has 46 receptions for 560 yards with 6 receiving touchdowns. He currently leads the Big 12 in catches and is number 3 in the entire country. He's also 2nd in the Big 12 and 5th in the nation in receiving yards, and 1st in the Big 12 and 3rd in the nation in receiving touchdowns. Again, he's been one of the best receivers in all of college football this season. Meanwhile, he switched over to defense, and he's been one of the top cornerbacks as well. Hunter has 16 tackles with a tackle for loss, 2 interceptions, and 3 pass breakups. He's a game changer on offense, and he's a game changer on defense as well. Now, for Shedeur Sanders to win, I think Colorado needs to finish with 9 to 10 wins. But for Travis Hunter to win, because he's doing so much on both sides of the ball, I think Colorado could be an 8-win team, and I think Travis Hunter would be deserving of winning the Heisman. Cam Ward has been sensational since transferring to Miami from Washington State. In only 5 games, he's already thrown for 1,800 yards with 18 passing touchdowns. He's also rushed for 150 yards with 2 rushing scores as well. Currently, Ward is number 2 in the entire country in passing yards and number 1 in passing touchdowns. He's also number 1 in the country in total yards with just under 2,000. He's going to finish the season with some incredible numbers, and as long as Miami continues to win and be a playoff contender, he's going to be right near the top. But coming in at number 1 this week is Alabama quarterback Jalen Milroe. Now, his numbers aren't quite as good as some of the other quarterbacks I've mentioned on today's list, but he has by far the biggest win and one of the best performances we've seen so far in college football this year. This past weekend, in a crazy victory over number 2 Georgia, Jalen Milroe really put up some video game numbers. He completed 27 to 33 passes for 375 yards with 2 passing touchdowns. He also rushed for 120 yards and had 2 rushing scores as well. 4 games in, Milroe is completing 73% of his passes and has thrown for 1,000 yards. He has 10 passing touchdowns with only 1 interception. Not to mention, he's a threat on the ground as he's rushed for 300 yards with 8 rushing scores. Like I mentioned earlier, his numbers aren't quite as good as some other players on this list, but because he has the biggest win of the season and probably the best performance, that's why I currently got him as the number 1 favorite for the Heisman Trophy. Well, that wraps it up for today's Heisman Top 10. Was there a player I didn't include that should have made the cut, or was there a player that was ranked too high, or a player that was ranked too low? Whoever it is, let me know in the comment section down below. Before you leave, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications if you're new to my channel. I'm posting college football videos all season long, so make sure to subscribe so you never miss a video. Also, don't forget to drop a like on this video as well. It helps out with that YouTube algorithm, and it helps share the video and my channel with more college football fans. Plus, it only takes a second to do. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video.